Quick greetings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and hopefully staying. Um, my last video was a rant, but I thought there was some things that were worth posting the video for. Um, so I was very inspired by the last entry from uh Empress Holbert. Uh, it's Empress is actually now basically calling for great minds to work this thing out. And really, uh, it's really where we have to go. We're under layers of, I feel, just layers of misleading and lies. And we are the heart of America. It shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be that we have this horrible uh image before the world just because this is our land, just because we are the original people of this land. How do we have this entity just shitting on us like 24/7? And just all it does is think of more ways to do so while it puts on a show with the Mongolians, which is not the best show, by the way. Uh, what is so shocking to me is that nothing has changed. When I think of Indians being colonized, and we talk as if it's a past history type of deal. No, it is very current. It's very much, again, very much alive. It's a living colonization that it's like it's very active. It's not dead at all. It's more alive probably than it's ever been, because with us waking up, it has to act. And one of the acts, something that Empress Holbert brought up, that it just put a spotlight on the fact that she says that TikTok is really on fire with this topic of American copper code. Well, kudos to TikTok. Somebody knows we are here, So it's like, what about all the other social media? And although, you get the feeling that Empress is fighting the good fight on TikTok, it's like we got to thank TikTok in a way, because at least they're talking about us. We're being basically, what's the word, when something is not made very public? It's like, it seems like it should be because it's significant enough. Again, with even voices like Dane Calloway, somehow, when I look at how it went with his groundbreaking article, it appeared, it probably got some side eye, and then dismissed, kind of, like it was a one time. Seems like, ooh, look what he said. Isn't that crazy? Like when you look back on it now, you realize, well, what happened since his article? where it was very well done, and it should have gotten, it should have had some residual, something residual. And no, it just, like we act like they're hoping that it went the way of, the short-term memory thing, and we just continue telling lies. Basically, when you really boil it down, what is the government? It's governing the mental, right? And what is what is the goal of that governing? It is to constantly make sure that this whole narrative about the copper-colored races found here by the Europeans is one of those things that you say, forget, and let's talk about Barbie. Okay, or the latest weekend movie craze. This is America. On to next sensation. So again, Empress had a great panel with Chief Alligator. Oh boy. You're hearing substance coming from this Chief Alligator. I don't know what else to say. He's a thinking man. He's I don't there's no words. I was just rather blown away by he brought up something that he challenged something I said in the comment section, and I was able to somewhat redeem my comment, but I was still stuck with something he said. And what Chief Alligator said, he made me realize that I want to say it right, because it was one of those aha moments. Like, in one breath, I had validated what I said, because I was talking about how we were pulled into the system with all the paperwork. But I couldn't dismiss what he said, which is it had something to do with we're still not really citizens. And I had never thought, oh, now we have the paperwork. So as I'm, listening to what he said, it occurred to me, he was basically saying we have not gone through the process of, for instance, what a green card holding Indian or Mongoloid Indian would have. I believe that's what it was. It was something differentiating us from the processes that other Americans have to become citizen, I should say. Maybe it wasn't about Mongols. At that point, I think he was just saying that they have the green card, basically, which makes them a citizen where we don't, and that was the whole, I believe that was the thing about naturalization. But what he made me realize, which I did know, but it came back to me in a whole new way, is that the difference between us. Okay, so that was another thing. He said we I think they talked about being deported, and us, not being able to be deported because this is where we're from, So so the difference between us and the green card holders, that what I realized is they can't be as discriminated against as we copper-colored Indians are. Why? Because they do have a home country that this government would have to deal with. You see, with us, because we don't have, and see, that's the ironic thing. It's like, ironically, the reason why we can be so disposable to the authorities, you know, like the police force, because the government knows that we don't have a country that's going to vouch for us or step in and say, what are you doing? And the reason why we don't have that, copper colored Indians, you know the answer. This is, this is our country. And we are being occupied. We are being terrorized by it. It can do whatever it wants, because what Chief Alligator made me realize is somehow, even with the documentation that makes us United States citizens, we still don't have a legal standing. If you can grasp what I'm saying, it's the Black status that it's like, okay, you can have the paperwork, but in our law books, you don't exist. As you have no no true nationality. That is why they can literally shoot at copper-colored Indians, trample on their rights, which are said to basically be non-existent because you're Black. And our people, they really don't understand that when they refer to you as Black, they just need enough of a public, I want to say, statement from you that addresses you as Black, so they can say that we co-sign on that, we agree to it. We have to stop the use of the term Black and all the other misnomers. But in other words, when you have something, for instance, like a Black Lives Matter or the Black Caucus or the Black History, and you're celebrating Black history, the way our government looks at it is that, oh, they agree, they call themselves this, so we can treat them like that. So it's a whole literal governing of the mental, where you are speaking your own demise. So let's just say we have to follow this narrative that Empress Holbert has put on the table. I think if I can speak some thoughts about it, it would involve Indians of all the quote unquote states realizing that we are not protected by the system that sits on our land. I mean, it's evident. How many more shootings and mistake killings do we need to see to know that we don't get the anti quote unquote Black hate crime bill? We don't get that. That is the furthest thing from our system as it stands. Why? Here's the thing I think we need to understand. We have a sovereign standing on this land as Indians not taxed. In one of my last videos, the reading, I found, excuse me, I had read it before, but like I said, it now I read it now with more understanding. And what I read It said the writer did his homework and was able to let us know that we are not tax exempt. That is for citizens. We are Indian not taxed by status. The thing is, it's almost like planting a seed. If you don't water it, if you don't tend to it, it's not going to bear fruit. It's not going to grow. It's just going to sit there and die. This is what's happening to our Indian not taxed status. So as we have no clue what that means, the occupying government can also ignore it. Once we stand on it, there will be absolutely nothing they can say. Absolutely. Oh, they will try. We know that. Yeah, they're not going to let it, easily. But ultimately, once we get that footing and we make it quite known that we know that what you're doing to us is because we're not organized. We don't know that we have a footing. You've actually redefined it in your federal Indian law, which should not be, because you don't make laws for Indians not taxed, because they're not taxed because they're not in your system. So for you to make federal laws, we know that they don't apply to the original copper-colored Indians found here by the Europeans. They're referring to the Indians that they created, the federally recognized, and then the state recognized. What I think another thing our Indians are not understanding is that the state and federal at this time, they're one and the same. Now, there was a time when the states were, they were more like countries, but the United States, which sits on DC, let's just say they're just a little well versed in how to, shall we say, pirate and commit. Well, one term is press ganging and inland piracy. So they know how to use their legalese and their word games to completely erase a state, a land soil state, and change it into a corporate fiction state. They know how to watch as a sovereign status goes virtually unspoken for and unrealized, because we simply don't speak on what it really means. What did our Constitution really mean when it called us Indians not taxed? It meant that we have a status that makes us not taxed or enumerated. So when they did that federal census, where they first of all were not supposed to be counting us, they had to rename us because they weren't supposed to count Indians. So they're very crafty at getting what they just come. That's what press ganging, inland piracy is. I'm grabbing you, knowing damn well that I'm supposed to throw you back out of this net that I'm casting on the sea jurisdiction. But instead I act like I don't know that I grabbed something that I'm not supposed to. I grab you instead of acknowledging, oops, that's a sovereign, that's an Indian, got to throw him back. What do I do instead? I create a new species of fish. I call you black. And I continue to go against the Constitution that I agreed to because I know how. What we have to understand, copper color, legalese and the legal system. First of all, we're not supposed to be under that legal system. Okay. But what we have to understand is that is a foreign language. That is a foreign language, foreign to us in every way. So it's a language that they very well are aware we don't know how to speak. That's partly why their system requires interpreters, titles of nobility known as lawyers. So I have to give kudos to Empress. If that if all of us joined in on that, and I had also the idea that we may need to get the federal tribes on board. We know they're suffering, right? We know that those federal recognize. Is it time for them to give that up and grab their Indian not tax status? You see, what will this will lead to is, okay, so now that we're here, we know who we are. What does this corporation do now? Well, it's going to try to squeeze you out of commerce to make you dependent on its commerce system. Their commerce system requires that you give up your sovereign standing in order to quote unquote do business. Why? Why should a man and woman of the land give up their status as sovereigns just to do business? But yet this is what we're told, that you have to incorporate. You can't interface with a business as a man and woman. That again, just like I said in the last, that's incorrect. It has to be incorrect. It's just that they don't want to follow suit with the way a sovereign deals with a corporate entity. They're trying to say, we will only talk to you if you get on board our ship. Other than that, we don't understand what you're saying. Well, it would behoove you to understand plain English. Just because you use legalese does not mean that you cannot use plain English. They act like they can't use English, but they have an advantage because they do speak both languages. So why not speak plain when you need to? You force the Indians to speak a language they didn't know. How about you speak a language outside of your tricknology legalese? What would be so wrong about that? Well, what's wrong is then they can't grab you into their jurisdiction. That's what's the problem they have. But again, you know regular English. You don't have to talk legalese all the damn time. But they would love to. They would love to. So I'm ranting a little bit again, but I did have something that I, wanted to talk about. Excuse me. For some reason, it came upon me now that what this Turtle Island, where's it coming from? you know, it's like, why you always gotta question everything? Oh, that's what it's all about, y'all. We have to question everything, unfortunately, especially now where we are, hopefully, as Empress has spoken, we really need to. It's time. We got to make some boss moves. Why? Because we're the boss of this land. We are the landlords who have been tricked into, as Anna says, being the, like we're the help in our estate. Or well, we don't even want to call it an estate. We really need to get out of their jurisdiction. Uh, the help on our private property. That's much better. Much better. See, that's another way that the language calls the sea jurisdiction. When we refer to our property as an estate, right there, you just given your private property to a corporation. When your car is a motor vehicle, right there, you have just put your car in the commercial fiction world, and it's not even your car anymore. It once it's in their domain, it's a word game. We must really understand the word game. It's that's how it works. Who knew? But now we do know. If a corporation creates a word and we use it, they expect to get paid and have ownership of everything every time you use that word. It's their word for a thing. Like Chief Colinago pointed out, cannabis is not marijuana. So marijuana is the word by which you could, well, now they've made it legal now that they get a cut, and they've patented some ingredients. Now that they own it, see, now that it could be legal now, right? Because they're getting paid. As long as it falls into their word spell and word game, then it's okay to use. They don't want you speaking another language that is outside of their ability to get a payday from it. So that's how the word game goes. That's why also Indians, it was very crucial that we stop speaking our language. Because the minute you speak your language, you've just taken jurisdiction over your world, your entire world. It's your language, it's your world. That's what America was when we spoke our language. But now that the colonizer has us speaking their language, we're calling their jurisdiction over our world each and every time. And truth be told, it's the same. Now, people might say, oh, but that flat earth movement stuff is crazy. No, not really. It's another word spell. If they call the world a globe, they have just owned your entire universe. Okay? That's why we have to have a globe, and we can't know that it's not a globe, because then we would begin to pull from out of their fictitious word spell. Words have a whole other dimension that most of us have no clue about. But I've noticed that Indians have a penchant for recreating words, and that's actually one of the little gifts our ancestors gave us. This thing we do where we make a slang, we better keep on doing it, y'all. We better keep on doing it and get it up to fever pitch, to perhaps even learning our ancient languages. So again, what was I going to talk about? I realized I need to educate myself on this idea of Turtle Island. Where did it come from? And yeah, what who, what, where, whatever we can find, right? Well, I can tell you, you're not gonna like me. You're not gonna like me. Only well, because it goes back to the Iroquois Algonquin beef that no one talks about. I said it before, and I want to say it again. Chief Kalinago said something that stuck with me, and I still need to look into that as well. Said that the Iroquois were the ones to basically be the overseers of all Indian tribes, which is interesting. That's the deal they got. Okay. I want to say that because I found myself saying, how is it that the Algonquin wouldn't, as the biggest linguistic group, how would this how would a deal happen to make the enemy of the Algonquin head of all the Indians? Now, again, he said it, he didn't get deep with it, but it immediately made sense to me. I can't, I, you know, he said the Republic was for Negropean. Now, he didn't use that term, but that's a term I think we really need to start using because we want to make a distinction between the colonizer and the subjects of the colonizer. White people originally are subjects to the colonizer. The colonizer uses the Caucasian as the front man and the face of colonization. But it would be a Negropean who is the actual colonizer. It would be royal Negropeans who are the actual colonizer. King James, a whole black man. You know, you say it and you just don't know if people grab it. You know, it's something that just, oh, we don't know what he was. Again, gotta buy uh John Mackey, memoirs of John Mackey to get a description. Very rather full descriptions because he's describing not only their skin tone, but in a lot of the entries, he describes their demeanor, their personality. It's he gives you a rough profile of each individual that he describes of King James Court. The Duke of this, the Earl of that. You know, these are dukes and earls and stuff. And they have swarthy, tawny, sanguine, uh, dark, black, brown, fair skin, which is not white, but light skin. He's describing the court, the family of King James, all black people, y'all. This is who started with this East Indian Company. Okay. This is the first thing known as a corporation. It comes from Europe. The corporation is not an Indian creation. So when we incorporate, all we're doing is furthering a commercial, fictitious entity and its objectives, not yours, its goals, its objectives. That's what we do when we incorporate. We're being basically told that that's the only way to get financial freedom. It's the only way to get power in America. It's the only way, to have your even this thing with our tribes. I think, you know, everything incorporate. All we're doing is getting further and further and further away from anything our ancestors created on this landmass. Our ancestors didn't know a thing about corporation. How is it that our Indians today feel that that is the golden key to everything? Yeah, in the colonizer's world, it is. That's how he colonizes. That is the tool he uses to erase law of the land. Law of the land deals with indigenous people. In our case, American Indian. That's what the law of the land would be, us owning our land. But if we continue to think a corporation can, it doesn't need land. So it will do all kinds of tricks and of the trade to ignore law of the land. We've got to get out of the corporate mindset, and we need to do it ASAP. Forget incorporating. Think organizing your linguistic groups, organizing into your status. Indian, not taxed. In a corporation, you're going to get taxed down. Once we step into our footing, our standing, if they deny us access to our land now that we're back on it, that's going to be an act of genocide. Why? Because men and women need their land to exist on the land. We don't swim in the ocean. So, like Chief Alligator was saying, I almost feel he was repeating something, without even knowing I said it, but he was saying, I said we need to make some noise, and he did too. He basically, if I recall correctly, we got to start talking about not being a corporation, about being Indians, not taxed. And that brother was really, I felt like we were on the same wavelength as I heard how he was able, what he was doing, what Chief Alligator was doing was speaking about how we show the fraud. He kept saying, what did the Black Caucus, I think that's what it was. They had to know what we were. And so the conversation on the panel was, who are these Black people, quote unquote, who know who we are but don't say anything about it? That at one point, that was what the panel was saying. And that's how Chief Alligator said we begin to call the fraud. Because, I mean, I've been saying that. I feel like I've said this the entire time that it's not white people. I feel like I've been saying that for forever. But it was so good to hear Chief Alligator say it. And he realized that is the key. You see, once you get out of the white what did that white man doing to me mindset, then you get keys. That's what they discovered. That's what Chief Alligator was saying on this panel. Because he was saying that would show. See, if we fighting the wrong enemy, you don't learn anything, you don't gain anything. It's like shadow boxing. You're just fighting the air. That's not the enemy. It's the ones who know, and who know by being one of us. There's no worse traitor than that. it is, I want to say, it's the white man's duty to further his progeny. That's his duty. Us getting mad at them for doing that is asinine. But when we have our own who are working against us, maybe that's your real problem. In terms of they are going along with the misclassification for a payday. What it's looking like is we had some Indians who said, you know what, being an Indian was never the greatest thing in my life. I'm a small tribe. We've been fighting with this larger tribe forever. We're tired. How much longer can we fight? If there's, just throwing out a number, if there's like 1,000 of us, how it look we fighting 10,000 of this large linguistic group? What we look like? So you know what? We don't care if this shit goes to shit. We want to be on top, and the only way we see to do that is to join forces with a enemy. And I'm not going to even say the linguistic groups. I think you know what I'm getting at. I think you know what I'm getting at. Somebody got to say it, y'all. Now, again, it is not my best interest to try and pretend or allude that one Indian tribe is better than another. No, that's not what I'm here for. But baby, if one of them is doing an injustice to the other, that I'm going to talk about. And I'm practically not going to shut up. If you go with common sense of why Iroquois would so readily side with Britain, it has to be to come against their enemy, which happens to be the largest linguistic group on the American lands. Larger does not mean better. It just means that that's most of our people spoke that language. That's what it means. There were cultural differences as well. But I'm of the mind to think that the real fight was for land, even among the Indians. So that said, let me pull this up because, yes, as I went to look up Turtle Island, my fires were turned up once again. So let me share my screen. And I had to include it, unfortunately, because I think if it keeps coming up, that means I need to. I wasn't even looking for it, but it came up in my search, so I'm gonna just go with it. Okay, so I was looking up creation stories because Turtle Island is actually a creation story. So then it made me, I found out where that creation story came from, and it made me look up the Algonquins' creation story. And that's what I'm going to start with. The reason why I'm leaning toward Algonquin is because I feel that this is the voice that's being hushed. This is the Indian tribe that lost the most land, and because they were large, apparently the Iroquois had a problem with that. Now you can't help that you're a large linguistic group. So to have a smaller one constantly, you know, picking a fight with you, and then finally siding with your enemy, well, I'm going to give the floor to the ones I feel have been most uh made victim of injustice by not only by the colonizer, but also by fellow Indians. And in a way, I have to wonder, if Iroquois are representing all Indians, how come none of us know that we're Indians? I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So let's read. This is what I found when I was looking for the Algonquins creation story, and it made me say, okay, got it. I can no longer deny this conflict. Okay. There are roughly 8,000 Algonquin Indians in Canada today. So this is I'm sorry, I should announce the website, mysteriesofcanada.com, First Nations Algonquin Indian by Bruce Ricketts. We can click on the website after we read this. There are roughly 8,000 Algonquin Indians in Canada today. They are organized into 9 nations in Quebec and 1 nation in Ontario. The Algonquin Indians were the victims of European politics. Okay? The Algonquin Indians were victims of European politics. The banding together of the Iroquois Confederacy drove the Algonquins from their land. This is what no one is talking about. This is why HERU is always talking about. Why are we not addressing this? So it wasn't necessarily the colonizer that had desire to drive us Algonquins off our land, right? The banding together of the Iroquois Confederacy drove the Algonquins from their land. Did I write this? No, I didn't, right? But it speaks volumes. So it just makes me wonder, uh how us Indians don't this would be a fundamental break that would lead to colonizers overtaking your country. If we don't talk about this, we never resolve the issues that made this happen on the scale that it did. We have the little dog who finds a hero in the colonizer, and their chance to be like the colonizer in terms of the power that they will start to wield on our land. They are sharing it with the little dog. But part of the deal, obviously, we can never really speak about Algonquin and what we helped you to do. So now you become the one we talk about all the time and mention you in our movies by name and all of that. That scene with Cicely Tyson chastising her African aspiring daughter, played by uh, Robin Givens. The Algonquin Indians were the victims of European politics. The banding together of the Iroquois Confederacy drove the Algonquins from their land. The Iroquois Confederacy, with the help of who? When the French arrived, the Algonquins began trading firearms for furs. Now, the French are just a precarious role in all of this. They're out for self, and now that Algonquins are in Canada, you know, so the French want some of what they got with the fur. So they apparently, seem to make an alliance that is really a self-interest kind of alliance, because I just felt the French didn't really support the Algonquins. And what I read, they would not give the Algonquins the firearms that they needed unless they were Christian. And so, as we will learn, not here, but in the whole story, the Algonquins lost almost every time. And I believe it was just merely a lack of firearms. Now, the Iroquois got the firearms that they needed from the Brits, so they were able to dominate. Somehow the French, I just think that they remembered that, oh, the Brits are our cousins, so we can't really help these Algonquins. We'll act like we're helping to get what we want, and we won't really support them. They didn't really support us. I hate to say it. That's from what I'm seeing. So when the French arrived, the Algonquins began trading firearms for furs. The French were good friends to the Algonquins. Ah, see, but not great allies. You know what? See, I didn't even. Again, a lot of times when I pull up my articles, I admit I don't. I skim them and I don't really catch everything. I kind of, like I said, I like to discover it with you as we read. I mean, sometimes that doesn't work in my favor. But I guess that's could be the transparency. I don't know. But yeah, I like what he said. That's exactly how I felt before I saw that line. I felt this ever since I've known about this alliance. uh, but we're not great allies. They weren't. They weren't. The Algonquins got royally messed over by everyone, everyone party to this little takeover. The Algonquins didn't have allies. I think the French were aware that we Algonquin Indians were large, so they couldn't really be our allies because we might be a formidable force against them, right? So they can't really support us, right? They're gonna half-ass it, right? Get your furs, fuck them over, and get out of Dodge. Thank you, French. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, you had to do that, right? You're not one of us. You're not really an ally. You're not an American Indian, right? You're part of again, like cousins or something to the Brits. So you got to maintain your little a royal thing going on, right? So you just using our raw materials so you could dress in furs. Mm-hmm. Mm. So the Iroquois, helped first by the Dutch and later by the English, defeated the French and Algonquins. Well, why don't we just leave it with the Algonquins? You know, the Iroquois, helped first by the Dutch and later by the English, defeated what I'm saying is the English are not. I don't really believe that they're enemies of the French. It's just another branch of the family. Remember, King James was the oh boy, but he's you got to find that. Uh, let me stop the share for a minute. I'm sorry, I going off a little bit. I want to find. Uh, let me see. I think I pulled it up before that. Uh, I okay. I think I found it. Okay. So let me see. View image. All righty. So let me. Where am I? Okay. Here I am. Here I am. Okay. Let me share the screen one more time. Okay. So when we speak about the French, the English, Spain, this King James is connecting all of that, right? So let me see. Can I make this? I can't make it bigger. Uh Tres Noble. Okay, down here we see Tres Noble. Tres illustrious, I guess, or illustrious. Tres Noble, Tres Pouffant, Prince Yax. Yax. I think that's Jacob reference. I don't know. Yax. Yakub, Parla Grace de Bien. Oh gosh. See, Le Grand Britain, Le France. It's Ireland. Hibernia. But I can't read all that. It's down there if you want to look. But up here we see Hibernia. He's a Jacobite. Magna Britanny, France, Hibernia. So he has some in other words, the French and the English. King James he's the connection between. Now Hibernia, I think that's I believe that's Spain. So I'm just pulling this up to show this is why the French were not really trying to, uh, back the Algonquin, because this dude here, that's they, that's their family. So it's got fooled. You got played, Algonquins. Got played. They acting like they're each other's enemies so that, so somewhere a decision was made that we need to, because of the land that the Algonquins are on, we cannot, we need them gone, right? That's a whole lot of land we got to take from these Americans. Iroquois, they don't got that much, right? But we all have to spear this whale on the land. And so that requires doing our little war game tactics. You pretend that you're their friend, and I'll befriend the Iroquois and elevate them to Algonquin status virtually. We take the smaller and we make them the large, because we have to get that land from them damn Algonquins. You see? Uh I try, I'm not trying to diss other Indians. I'm trying to get Indians to see what how it pans out when the biggest linguistic group of Indians, how they have to be dealt with, even by the smaller groups of Indians, how they become a non-issue when they were the biggest issue that the European had to deal with. Um, at some point, you see, I don't know. I don't know that there is any incentive for the Iroquois to return to what we were, because that would mean our lands would go back to. And I think what the Iroquois got was props for getting our land, available, helping to make Algonquin land available to the European. So they are like a jewel in the European's crown. And they're fine with that. In other words, I think an Iroquois might say, look, if I go back to what I was, I'm not going to be the big dog no more. Only with the help of the enemies can I grab this power. So, how do you get an Iroquois to want to recognize other Indians, indeed to recognize all Indians? Because I I'm just of the mind that it's not really just Algonquins that, you know, got shafted. If we like, just like on the panel of Empress Holbert, they were, Chief Alligator realized that it's our own people that know something that they're not sharing, and they're going along with the black narrative. So they're getting a regular payoff for that. They're getting a regular payoff for that. They're living basically alongside the colonizer and helping today's colonization to continue. I hate to say it like that, y'all. I really do. Um, it has to be said. This has to be addressed. You can't right a wrong if you don't address the wrong. And I just think that the Algonquins today are not the copper colored Algonquin, or they have become so comfortable in you know, I don't know, it they shouldn't be. It's what I'm saying, because whatever we have today, it does pretty much amount to all the Indians are lying. Not just the Iroquois, apparently, because Algonquins could speak up too. That's why I don't know, are these the real Algonquins? Was the deal just simply to make the Mongoloids the premier Indians in America? Obviously, that was part of it. So at this point, I guess it's safe to say that either the Algonquins get some kind of consolation prize to shut up, and but understand that they're doing it out of the force of what initially took place. They were outnumbered. Basically, the French were not really helping them. The Iroquois were definitely not helping them, and so it was like 3 against 1. At that, so some kind of deal, some kind of branch of Algonquin were left. But again, there are no sovereign Indians on the land, so whatever the Algonquins got, it ain't what it's not the height of what they're supposed to have gotten. And I think the Iroquois are getting whatever they're getting on the down low, which means that they are more like what you would see at the Black elite. That's what they're basically getting. So the Iroquois have completely given up their Indian identity to become Black elite, and basically put on a show that they are here to serve the quote unquote Black community. So that's the deal that I think the Iroquois got, is just appear as if there's hope for these quote unquote Blacks, but really you are the only ones that are going to really always be on top, because you got your trusted colonizer by your side. And so you have, I believe, also the Iroquois might have land, that's not theirs. What I mean, it had to be worth their while. You hear me? So yeah, so as it stands, Algonquins now are only seen as Canadian. If they done took us off the America as it stands, we're not even part of America. As by today's narrative, we don't hear about the Algonquins of the East Coast, right? The only thing you hear about is kind of Canada Algonquins. We done been pushed out of the United States completely, right? And whatever Algonquins that are here now, the Lenape who have basically I I feel like they're just a remnant that they're just going along to get along. Basically, let's not tell the story. Let's just thank God they allowed us to uh be here in some capacity, right? We'll keep our mouth shut otherwise. They've incorporated, I believe, it's a federally recognized type of situation. So once you become federally recognized, forget it. The whole history is that has nothing to do with you. You're just here, like what do you call it, like like sort of just for face value, because they're doing nothing to help us to know that we are the so-called Blacks are Indians, right? They're not doing anything toward that, right? So
Yeah. So the Algonquins of like the Lenape, they're not really. I can't say that they represent the real Algonquins. You know what I'm saying? The ones who are now languishing as blacks and coloreds and who have no idea. You know, some of us do know, but as we know, so many of us still don't know. And no thanks to, you know, the Algonquins that are here today, right? They're just a whole different animal now, right? So picking up, when the French arrived, the Algonquins began trading firearms for furs, only if you were Christian. Okay. They did not give fire. That's the whole thing that made me know that they were not supporting the Algonquins. They were not giving them the weaponry enough to make a difference. Whereas the Iroquois were getting it like, you know, windfall, you know. The French were good friends. I can't even say that. It's the kind of friends you got to look out for. The French were good friends to the Algonquins, but not great allies. The Iroquois, helped first by the Dutch and later by the English, defeated the French and Algonquin Indians. The Algonquins were defeated, but they were never eliminated. Yeah, they became some kind of federal recognized thing, and that's not all of us. We had the largest land, uh, you know, uh territory. I don't know what to call it. Uh so uh yeah, never eliminated. No, no. We just were made into smaller, uh little mouth watering chunks that are more easily devoured uh by the system. The Algonquin Indian cultures lives on in Canada. See, we're not even part of our original land. We're not considered a part of America. That's what we got. Okay, Algonquin. It's a forgotten fairy tale that you thrived on the entire East Coast, pretty down to South Carolina, or was it just North Carolina? I'm sorry, I'm not recalling at the moment. There's Mongoloid, looking like that thing from the movie Insidious. Mm-mm. Below is the Algonquin Indian creation story. Okay, so that was the lead into the creation story. And I thought, oh, they must want me to read this because they know that sets me on fire. Uh, the ancestors. So they said, we're gonna throw another one at your boy. he gonna like this one. I don't like it. It's just that it has to be said because no, the Algonquins apparently are not allowed to say it. I don't. They this I guess, but in order for them to even exist today, I think they just have to go with what Massa say. Massa, like, we could just erase you completely, but if you want to be known, just keep your mouth shut. Hmm. That's what it seems like to me. Because why ain't the Algonquins telling us the story, right? They quiet, Hmm. In the beginning of creation, this is the Algonquin creation story, which what I'm trying to show is that they don't have a turtle island. Uh, that's why I'm so. That's why I don't gravitate toward it. It's not, my bloodline. This was not. We didn't have a Turtle Island story. That's why it doesn't resonate with me. I figured it out. In the beginning of creation, there was nothing but water everywhere, and no land could be seen on the waves. I'm sorry. No, no. In the beginning of creation, there was nothing but water everywhere, and no land could be seen. On the waves, a canoe floated, and a man sat in it and wept because he had no idea what would happen. After a while, a muskrat climbed onto the canoe and said, "Greetings." Wait a minute now, because it does sound like it's paralleling the turtle story. So I hope I'm not going to make a fool of myself. But I did see. Well, let's just keep reading. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. After a while, a muskrat climbed onto the canoe and said, "Greetings, grandfather. Why are you crying?" And the man answered, "I've been here a long time and I cannot find any land." The muskrat replied, "But there is earth under all this water." The man answered the muskrat to get him some land. No, the man, I'm sorry, what I must be tired. The man asked the muskrat to get him some land, and the muskrat drove down and came up with both paws full of mud. This does sound like, wait a minute, am I going to make a fool out of myself? Because no, I'm sorry, because I think the Turtle Island story has elements of this because but it's not in our creation story. The turtle is not in the Algonquian creation story. So Indians went. I just want to say that this is good. It just shows us that our ancestors, you know, they 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 make you gravitate toward was what you were. So the Turtle Island story never resonated with me. And again, I can say my reasons, but now I'm starting to think it just wasn't part of the Algonquian creation story. It wasn't. So I hear it and it doesn't do anything for me. I'm stuck at the fact that it doesn't look like a turtle. No matter how many maps I saw where they showed America looking like a turtle, it never looked. I thought that's a stretch, yo. It don't look like no turtle. I used to think it looked like some kind of chicken. I used to think America looked more like a bird or something, where the part of California would be the back of the bird, and the front of the bird where the head is would be like the east coast of America. And then South America would be like the legs or something. I never saw a turtle. I go better with a chicken island. Well, you know what they say about us in chicken. So I would make up a chicken island story as an Algonquin. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't make it a chicken story. Um, in the beginning, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. May I start again? I'm sorry. In the beginning of creation, there was nothing but water everywhere, and no land could be seen. On the waves, a canoe floated, and a man sat in it and wept because he had no idea what would happen. After a while, a muskrat climbed onto the canoe and said, "Greetings, grandfather. Why are you crying?" The man answered, "I have been here a long time, and I cannot find any land." The muskrat replied, "But there is earth under all this water." The man asked the muskrat to get him some land, and the muskrat dove down and came up with both paws full of mud. He dove again and brought up a ball of earth in his mouth. The man did not think this was enough land to live on. The man asked the muskrat if he was all alone, and the muskrat answered no. The muskrat gave out a call, and the animal chiefs of the waters swam up to the canoe. The first to come was a white muskrat. I hear you want to see us. The white muskrat uh, asked, said to the man, I'm sorry. Yes, answered the man. I want you to bring me some earth so I can make the world. I will make it a good world where we can all live. The animals agreed and they all began to die. They all brought up earth, and the man called grandfather kneaded the mud that they brought and molded it into a long column that reached from the surface of the water to the earth beneath it and continued to add with the help of the animals. In time, they would create a world of trees, mountains, and beauty for all to live. The end, basically. So there's no turtle in the Algonquin story. That's why it's foreign to me. I would have to say. Uh, but I really don't understand how they. Let's read that part again. They all brought up earth, and the man they called grandfather kneaded the mud that they brought and molded it into a long column that reached from the surface of the water to the earth beneath it and continue to add with the help of the animals. Okay. So that's not a globe. That's one of the things I'm noticing. It's not saying anything about a globe, you know, but even in the Algonquin creation story, I think what is troublesome to me in these water world stories is that you have to ask, well, how did the man build a boat? Like, I just think somewhere these stories are handpicked by colonizer. I don't know. Even maybe this Algonquin story, because the what I don't vibe with here is, well, where did the man come from? There had to be earth before there was water. And what I'm trying to say is I think a lot of this water narrative is coming from our Moors. I'm just gonna say it like that. We're not gonna rant about them, I hope. Because that'll be a long rant, But somewhere we are being given a suggestion that water was first, and I don't know that that is the case. It's just, I feel like that's just a way to always give the sea jurisdiction, some kind of first place, like, I almost want to say birthright, like it helps someone, or it helps colonizers who are all about the sea and the sea jurisdiction. It helps them to create a narrative that water is the first thing on the land, like, and it has to be a flood for some reason. It can't, in other words, there could be no water without land, yet we are being told that water is first. Water without land would not be a thing at all. You know, what would it be? Just a what 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 would hold the water? You know, if it was just no land and just all water. But I don't know. I guess the idea is, oh, the land was always. I don't know. I don't get this water world concept really. I think it's something I I don't know what it is. It just why would water be why would water be seen as the primary of earth? You know, the like in other words, land had to be covered by water and in a way where you could not see the land. And land has to rise from water. I don't understand that why that is seen to be the way of creation. Anyway, that's just me. In other words, I don't think they're telling the story from the very, very beginning. That's what I want to say. We're starting out with water, but that doesn't mean that land could, wasn't the first thing. But we're being told the story with giving water the first place, but maybe we should be talking about land being created first. But no, it's like starting a story in the middle, which and that to be, I hate to say it, but that's what scripture is. Starting a story is somewhere in the middle. How so? Because Adam is not the first man, or on earth. There, we don't hear about how the other people were here before Adam. It's just not spoken about. So there's an example of a story not being told from the beginning. And that is something that the priests do. They take away first things. They do it with words, they do it with concepts, they do it with deities. Like, don't talk about the first, remove the first letter. So Tamari becomes a Mary. Tamari becomes a Mary. Tamari becomes a Mary. Ka. Now, sometimes they will add something to, there's two ways to make first second. You either take away the first or you put something in front of the first. So now with Ra, you make him a secondary god by putting Amen in front of him. So now you just secondary a primary deity, and he is now a secondary when he should be. So the whole spell we're in that's against American Indians is a secondary spell, a spell that makes first into seconds. And every way that that can possibly be done, it is done. So instead of starting with land, you start with water. Never mind that water needs land, and therefore it's like having a child without a mother. So where did how did the child come into being if there wasn't a mother? How did the earth come to be if there was, and how did the water, I'm sorry, How did the water come to be to rest on the land if the land wasn't first? Um, it's just something to think about. And I done went off on this tangent, but the whole point of me reading this is the Algonquian. I should have took that picture out. I don't know why I left it in. This is like what happened to the Algonquins, basically. This is what you think of when you think of Algonquin, right? Mm-hmm. Algonquin Indian. Yeah. That's a Mongolian. That's not an Algonquin. That's a Mongolian. That's a Mongolian from Mongolia. Okay. Not first American. Okay. Okay. So there you have it, y'all. I just wanted to show you how first are made seconds is part of this narrative. So uh or should I say how smaller are made large by getting rid of the large and not talking about their version of the creation story, their or creation story. Um uh Now what did I do with my Iroquois creation story? I thought I'd pull that slide. I'm so bad with that Iroquois, right? Uh um I don't know if I'm going to. Oh, here's another do we how many pages? This is just one page. Okay, so this is another popular Algonquin creation myth that also doesn't have a turtle involved from if you know um an Algonquin legend from firstpeople.us. And we didn't click on the we said we would click on this afterwards. So let's go there now. So this is the mysteries of Canada. See, Algonquins are not no longer part of America. Okay. And that's the story we just read. And there's the Mongolian replacement. Okay. All right. So now here's another one. The great Mother Earth had two sons, Glooskap and Maslam. Glooskap, Glooskap was good, wise, and creative. Maslam was evil, selfish, and destructive. When their mother died, Glooskap went to work creating plants, animals, and humans from her body. Also, he took his mother's body and went to work creating plants, animals, and humans from her body. Malsum, in contrast, made poisonous plants and snakes. As Glooskap continued to create wonderful things, Malsum grew tired of his good brother and plotted to kill him. This is like your Cain and Abel, Jacob Esau. That's I think maybe where some of this is uh where the original, you know, of those characters. Um or the idea for those things. Uh, in jest, Malsum bragged that he was invincible, although there was one thing that could kill him: the roots of the fern plant. He badgered Glooskap for days to find the good brother's vulnerability. Finally, as Glooskap could tell no lies, he confided that he could be killed only by an owl feather. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let me find out the feathers analogy for killing Algonquins. Oh boy. Knowing this, Malsum made a dart from an owl feather and killed Glooskap. Is that why the owl is used in the secret society rituals? Oh boy. The power of good is so strong, however, that Glooskap rose from the dead, ready to avenge himself. Alive again, Glooskap also knew that Malsum would continue to plot against him. So even after he rose from the dead, he knew his brother was going to kill him again. Kill him good. Kill him good. This is actually also sounding like the ancient Timerian story of Set and Osar, the two brothers now that's the very first two brother story that became the foundation in the monotheistic religion. So that's what I'm getting from this. And I, talk about Set and Osar all the time. That is the most ancient story of the two brothers who are against each other. And I think Algonquin and Iroquois fit that to a T. Really. The two brothers who are against each other. I don't know what it would take to make Iroquois want to really work that law of peace that they wrote about with Algonquins. Now they're the ones who wrote up this law of peace, right? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. The power of good is so strong, however, that Glooskap rose from the dead. That sounds a little Jesus-y too. But Osar, Osar is the Jesus story. That's where it's coming from. That's basically, the resurrection idea is coming from. The power of good is so strong, however, that Glooskap rose from the dead, ready to avenge himself. Alive again. Glooskap also knew that Malsum would continue to plot against him. Glooskap realized that he had no choice but to destroy Malsum in order that good would survive and his creatures would continue to live. So he went to a stream and attracted his evil brother by loudly saying that a certain flowering reed could also kill him. Glooskap then pulled a fern plant out by the roots and flung it at Malsum, who fell to the ground dead. Malsum's spirit went underground and became a wicked wolf spirit that still occasionally torments humans and animals, but fears the light of day. So not a very positive word for any kind of wolf clans out there, right? You want to change into a muskrat clan, perhaps? The muskrat that saved the world. Uh, so that's another one that, buried, for the Turtle Island, where did I put the Turtle Island? Did I not? Why did I not have? Did I completely? Okay. So I think the best reference I had for Turtle Island, unfortunately, was Wikipedia. So it's a little tricky because they seem like they're trying to say that it started out Lenape. I don't know. If Lenape is Algonquian, this is not true. We read, the creation story of Algonquin. So I thought I had a PDF of this. What did I do with it? Because I prefer to read from let me make it a PDF. I done lost the darn PDF. Okay. So this is how I usually make my PDFs. I go to Print Friendly. It's a lovely uh uh database. What do you call this thing? Application that makes your PDFs nice and clean. So I don't know why I had this. I must have closed it by mistake. This is that Algonquin in me that's resisting the Iroquois story. Oh man, somewhere we got to resolve this. I do believe somewhere we have to resolve this at some point. Okay, Turtle Island, Native American folklore. Well, it's not American Indian, it's Native American, according to the Wikipedia. Okay. Turtle Island is a name for Earth or North America used by some indigenous peoples, not all, because I think when we hear the story of Turtle Island, we're told that it's that's what all the Indians called it. Well, not exactly, right? I mean, I hate to be that Indian. I know it's sickening, right? It's sickening. You're tired of this, right? Uh, I this I just feel like I am what the ancestor made me. I that's the best way for me to say it. I I looked and I used the common sense that I have, and and I'm sorry, the ancestors. I just think that this is what I was to do. You know, I um, but again, if you don't address the disease and you only deal with the symptoms and you talk all around the disease, it festers and it never gets dealt with. So although, I feel like sometimes it's sickening to hear about this Iroquois Algonquin rift, but there's an opportunity in there. There's an opportunity to address a long issue. Like we don't have to, I don't even know I should go there, but without necessarily taking sides, we don't want to be like how what's going on in the Middle East, that like a forever unsolvable thing that it appears to be, It's just that it shouldn't be like that for American Indians. It shouldn't. We know what the issue is. I think we have a rough idea. It was a territory issue. It was a territory issue. As I just realize, I never said it out loud before, but Algonquins have been taken off of outside of the United States construct, right? We're no longer part of the United States. Well, how do I say it? We don't want to be, but the entity itself has fixed it where we're not even meant, it's like we're not considered that we were ever part of America, of the where the United States took over. So the part that the corporation took over, according to them, we not here anymore. That's what they would prefer. So whereas the Iroquois are considered still here. You see what I'm saying? So that's another part of the deal. Is from now on, we act like you Algonquins were never on this colonized area, the area colonized by Britain. That was the deal. The Iroquois helped us to remove you from your territory in America that conflicted with what we were trying to have done. So now you're known as being part of Canada. And I guess that's the French, how that they must have, that was what they were doing as well. Like, as an honor to you for giving us all your fur, we'll have you on our, the French part of America. But you're not going to be the copper colored. You're going to be like the Mongolians, like we saw the guy that looked like not only from Insidious, but he also looked like that redhead from Star Wars, that thing with the red face, the Vader. What was he called? There was Darth Vader and Doof Vader or some shit. He was another Vader. So, I just see that again, the Algonquins. I mean, I keep calling my ancestors the Algonquins. Well, they were, the Algonquins. But again, they just made me realize, look, they took us off of our land mass. We're no longer seen as ever having been on the southeast coastline of we're now, we in their world, we are only in Canada. But the Iroquois are still part of America, right? Of the US part, where the colonizer took, right? So evidently that was what the deal was. So literally, Algonquins, they have been removed to never really be addressed as what I want to find the word, but I'm trying to describe the northeast woodland area, like the Carolina, basically all where the 13 colonies were. So this is what was a result of the Iroquois and Britain alliance. And the French were there to catch the spoils. Oh, we'll take you. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so Turtle Island is the name for Earth. For Earth, not, oh boy, that's I just caught that too. Earth or North America. So this is what Wikipedia tells us, y'all. So the whole Earth is Turtle Island. Oh boy, we got. I don't know if this is gonna work, y'all. According to what we just read, it could be Earth or North America. But how do you say Earth and or North America as if they're the same thing, though? Isn't there more on Earth than North America? And also, I'm noticing that they're not including South America. Well, why are they saying North America and not South America? Oh boy. I didn't even catch this, So there's an issue with Turtle Island. We don't know. So it goes from the whole Earth being Turtle Island to just North America being Turtle Island. It can't. Which one is it, y'all? Which one? And what happened to South America, where it all began? You see, South came before North. South America is, from my research, it's the most ancient part of the Americas. So what I just read, it seems like they're not including South America. But they did say used by some indigenous peoples, as well as some indigenous rights activists. The name is based on a creation story common to several indigenous peoples of the northeastern woodlands of North America. So I think we're running into another grab, y'all. They don't say Algonquin by name, at least in that what we just read, right? So Algonquin becomes a word that you just don't hear it. Now you will hear of Lenape, right? Before you will hear of Algonquin. So let's look at this, because remember, now we're from Canada, the Algonquin. So when they say northeastern woodlands, it really shouldn't call up Algonquin at all, because the new narrative of the Algonquin is that it's a Canadian group of Indians only. We are no longer any part of the United States part of America. We are only now in Canada. So when they say to several indigenous peoples of the northeastern woodlands, technically we should never think of Algonquins, and we shouldn't, because this was not our creation story. Okay. A number of contemporary works continue to use or to tell the Turtle Island creation story. Well, it's the only one I hear, when it comes to, a creation story from Indians. It's people are saying we use Turtle Island. Lenape mythology. The Lenape story of the Great Turtle was first recorded by Europeans between 1678 and 1680 by Jasper Dankerts. The story is shared by other northeastern woodland tribes, notably those of the Iroquois. Well, thank you, because that should be noted, because you're just saying northeastern woodlands, but remember, Algonquins are now in Canada. So notably those of the Iroquois Confederacy. So Iroquois were part of the northeastern woodland. The thing is, they wanted all of the northeastern woodland. I mean, that's the only thing I would be able to deduce, which is why there was such a great rift between, namely, Iroquois and Algonquin. So the Iroquois, well, again, they were also northeastern woodlands. And once they chased the Algonquins to Canada, and that became the new narrative of Algonquins. So who's left in the northeastern woodlands? Everybody. Uh-huh. So there's no more Algonkins there, is what I'm saying. But they got little namesakes like Lenape, who really you don't. I feel like they're not really saying they're, somehow. I think Lenape are a political thing to make it look like, oh, we didn't completely get rid of Algonkins, right? The Lenape are here, but they never say them, they never really say the word Algonquin. They just say Lenape. And then you just don't know. So the idea is to erase the linguistic group of Indians known as Algonquin. And now we only supposed to think of them as being in Canada, and that's where they originate. But they're not these United States area. So who's the one Indian tribe that got completely kicked off of the United States area? It's only one, as far as I can see, and that's the Algonquin. They are no longer part of the United States, part of America. That's what the whole point was. That's who got kicked off of the United, quote unquote, States area of the Americas. We had too much land for them to desire us to be here. Although we were the first things they saw when they got here, they quickly figured out who they needed to really get close and friendly with. Okay. The Lenape believes that before creation, there was nothing, an empty, dark space. However, in this emptiness, there existed a spirit of their creator. Oop, this is something else. This is not what Algonquin said, right? Kishel, oh boy, Kishalamakan. Oh boy, Kish. Kishalamakan. 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 Eventually, in that emptiness, he fell asleep. While he slept, he dreamt of the world as we know it today. The earth with mountains, forests, and animals. He also dreamt up a man, and he saw the ceremonies man would perform. Then he woke up from his dream to the same nothingness he was living in before. Kishel Mankank, let's just call him Kishel for short, okay? Kishel or Kishel then started to create the earth as he dreamt it. First, he created helper spirits. This is sure going outside of the turtle story, isn't it? So I don't even know why they thought. Well, I guess we got to get to the turtle because so far the earth is not on a turtle's back. Okay, I don't even know why they're putting this here, to be honest. I mean, I know we have to read further, but it seemed like the earth is already, he what he was on, he thought, he looked around and said, what a dump. And then he had a dream, and that place looked better. So where's the turtle at, though? Sorry. It didn't say he dreamt of a turtle eye, Oh boy, this is not supposed to be this funny. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm okay. I just don't feel like the turtle is primary in what we just read. Okay, so it's like he's not coming in, you know. What? Okay, but it says the Lenape story of the great turtle. So okay, so we got to read further because so far the turtle don't make his appearance yet, um, which is troublesome because there's an Earth without the turtle so far. Okay, but again, we got to stop jumping ahead. Heru, we gotta stick with the program. Okay, he first he created helper spirits, the grandfathers of the North, East, and West, and the grandmother of the South. Interesting. So the grandmother is Southern. That's interesting because I'm thinking that that's where the culture began in the South, and that I mean South America too. But once it spread up, the South would be next in line, right? If it's spreading up from South America, so places like Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, the Carolinas, Virginia, you know, okay. Um, so together they created the earth just as Kish had dreamt it. One of their final acts was creating a special tree. From the roots of this tree came, the first man, and when the tree bent down and kissed the ground, woman sprang from it. Oh Lord. This is crazy. I'm sorry. It just sounds a little never heard this thing before. Okay, so okay. All the animals and humans did their jobs on the earth. So when does the turtle? I mean, when they say Turtle Island, what I thought I heard was that there was just water, and then the turtle got up, and the earth was on his back. So maybe they didn't realize that they're on the turtle's back yet. That's probably what it is. That's probably maybe okay. So maybe after all this, they're gonna say, "Oh my God, we're on the turtle's back." Oh my God! Thank you, turtle. Thank you, turtle. Thank you. All the animals and humans did their jobs on Earth until eventually a problem arose. Okay, turtle must be coming down. Okay, this is a problem. There was a tooth of a giant bear that could give the owner magical powers, and the humans started to fight over it. Eventually, the wars got so bad that people moved away and made new tribes and new languages. Well, I kind of like that idea because I think we did break off into, in other words, it wasn't our, I don't think we started out all these different, tribes. In fact, I don't think we were tribes at all because there's something about that word spell. Once I read that it was associated with paying tribute, that went out the window for me. I try not to get too attached to these words. I'm trying because they, according to the Negropean, that means you pay tribute. You're a tributary. So a tribe must, if you're broken up into tribes, then you have to pay tribute. Is what I read. That was what Anna was saying. Uh, yeah, yeah, that might be worth reading again at some point. Um, Eventually, the wars got so bad that people moved away and made new tribes and new languages. Kishel saw this fighting and decided to send a spirit down, Nanapush, to bring everyone back together. He went on top of a mountain and started the first sacred fire, which gave off a smoke that caused all the people of the world to come investigate what it was. When they all came, Nanapush created a pipe with a stomach branch or sumac branch and a soapstone bowl. Uh, and the creator gave him tobacco to smoke with. Nanapush then told the people that whenever they fought with each other to sit down and smoke tobacco in the pipe, and they would make decisions that were good for everyone. The same Beartooth later caused a fight between two evil spirits, a giant toad and an evil snake. The toad was in charge of all the waters, and amidst the fighting, he ate the tooth and the snake. The snake then proceeded to bite his side, releasing a great flood, upon the earth. All righty. Okay, Nanapush saw this destruction and began climbing a mountain to avoid the flood, all the while grabbing animals that he saw. Sound like Noah. Okay. Um, and sticking them in his sash. At the top of the mountain, there was a cedar tree that he started to climb. And as he climbed, he broke off limbs of the tree. When he got to the top of the tree, he pulled out his bow, played it, and sang a song that made the water stop. Nanapush then asked which animal he could put the branches and the rest of the animals on top of in the water. Finally, the turtle volunteered, saying he'd float and they could all stay on him. And that's why they call the land Turtle Island. Nanapush then decided the turtle needed to be bigger for everyone to live on. So he asked the animals if one of them could dive down into the water to get some of the old earth. Oh, also, see, now when I hear this, is also I hate to say it again, but it has Moorish feel because it's something about an old earth, you know, and I think that's where the new world order sort of is emanating as well. That's just, I'm just resonating with these themes, that I've heard before, and see, when you want to get rid of the old, you have to somewhat demonize it or say that it was a cataclysm, and there's your reasoning for making a new world. But as we know, the new world has no place for American Indians, even if they told this story. It got retold in the monotheistic religion. And part of that retelling is there's no place for American Indians on a turtle or on a uh, turkey, on a peacock, on a pterodactyl. There's just no animal that the Indian can stand on. Okay. And in fact, all of us have been put into the ocean. So it's interesting, all this talk about land, but the irony is that the world of created by the Moors, it pushes you into the ocean so that they can take your land in a commercial land grab. So they don't like old. Even in their scriptures, they have an Old Testament that they say is no longer in effect, right? Because there's something new. And I'm starting to realize we really got to watch out with this new stuff. And another somewhat analogy is their their Caucasian concept is the idea that that's the modern man. That's the new man. He's the most, in other words, he is in this kind of narrative, the latest is the superior, because the old, it's like, oh, you were the trial and error, you were out of date, you're being replaced, you know. So it's just a pattern that I see, I kind of feel like how, that's just how the ancestors do with me. They show me the patterns, the different patterns of, that we are in, that sort of like a little bit hidden. But then you read something like this and you see a lot of connections. I guess what I like about this story is that at least it started out with land, I think, is what I but I think they're saying it was an imaginary land. Oh, well, let's go back. Okay, so let's see. There was nothingness, okay, to create the earth as he dreamt of it. Okay. So, okay, so excuse me. Um, it well, I got the feeling when I read it the first time that there was no water first. There was nothing. Okay. So that's different from water, you know. That's different. You know, there was just nothing. Just the empty space. It didn't say anything about water. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, so I think I want to read the rest of this, and I'm gonna sort of, I don't know if I'm gonna go. Oh yeah, so there was that picture. Okay. Okay, so we read that. Okay, okay. Did we read this? Okay, so the turtle volunteered, saying he'd float and they could all stay on him because one animal started releasing blood. Flood. Blood. Okay. Okay. Dan Push, Nana Push then asked which animal. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going backwards. The turtle volunteered, saying he'd float and they could all stay on him, and that's why they call the land Turtle Island. Nanapush then decided the turtle needed to be bigger for everyone to live on, so he asked the animals if one of them would dive down into the water to get some of the old earth. The beaver tried first, but came up dead. Ooh. And Nanapush had to revive him. The loon tried second. What is a loon? Okay. But its attempt ended the same. fate. Ended with the same fate. Lastly, the muskrat tried. He stayed down the longest and came up dead as well. Oh, in our story, the muskrat didn't die. In the Algonquin version. But he had some earth on his nose. You see, the Lenape, they have they are uh basically Algonquin. I don't know how they changed, but I guess as I'm reading this, it seemed like they are bringing elements of the Algonquin story uh with the Iroquois story. Because this part with the muskrat was Algonquin, remember? So what the Lenape are doing is it's like they are going with the victor. Okay, so they would be like the Algonquins that said, can we stay? We do whatever you want. We do. So you see, because look, they're putting the turtle story. This is and the Lenape are the reason why they're trying to say that Algonquins had a turtle story, but we didn't. What the Lenape are doing are incorporating Iroquois myth. That's what they're doing. That's what I'm saying. Because the mention of the muskrat is what did it. Now let's go back. Here's the muskrat, right? So wait, which one? Oh, I closed it. Did I close it? I think I closed, which I didn't want. Oh, that was the other. Okay, that's another reading of the story. You know what it was? I opened the website. That's what I did. So here. So I'm gonna do a word search for muskrat. I believe. Yeah. So in our muskrat is all over the place. Okay. So what the Lenape are doing, wow, the ancestors are amazing. They're taking elements of their Algonquin roots, but they are ending up with an Iroquois finish. That's what the Lenape are doing. And I think this kind of lets me see why the Lenape are still here. they they I want to say they must be like the prisoner Algonquins, if you stay, like what happened with the Trail of Tears. If you stay, you must obey. So that's what I kind of see going on with Lenape. They struck some kind of deal with the Iroquois. They're like the amalgamated, they're basically taking on again the Iroquois traditions. And so they're not really Algonquin much anymore. But they did get to stay, you know? They got to stay in the Northeast Woodland area, whereas most Algonquins are now said to be Canadian, not American. Okay. So the Algonquins paid, I think, one of the highest prices. They are not even associated really with the United States hijack of our land. The Lenape stayed, but they're compromised, shall we say. So yeah, muskrat. See, they took parts of this, but then the big finish is the turtle. And the muskrat died in their story. In our story, the muskrat, that was key. The muskrat in their story, he died. Wait. He came up dead, but he was revived. He came up dead. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Whoa. I'm thinking of something else. No, he came up dead as well, but he. Whoa. 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 You see, I think Indians see what I'm seeing. So let's look at this. Come on. We gonna have to highlight this. There's some. They're keeping the muskrat because they know how important he was in the original story. Okay, so let's do this. The muskrat is being. It's like he's being replaced by the turtle. Is what I feel like. Lastly, he stayed down the longest. Sort of like I think the Lenape are talking about themselves. They the muskrat tried. He stayed down the longest, but came up dead as well. But he had some earth on his nose that Nanapush put on the turtle's back. Because of his accomplishment, Nanapush told the muskrat, now that's Algonquin all the way, right? He was blessed and his kind would thrive in the land. I think the Lenape are considered blessed and they are allowed to thrive on their land, right? Because the Lenape are the only Algonquins, I guess. I mean, I think Pequot is as well. It's just a group of them. Like I think they got some kind of confederacy going on. I gotta look that up. I'm sorry, I don't know the. But so you can stay, but you will not be 100% Algonquin any longer. You'll be, so it's sort of like a mention, but you don't say Algonquin really. That's the secret. Nanapush then took out his bow and again sang, and the turtles started to grow. That sounded like the Iroquois. They started to grow. It kept growing, and Nanapush sent out animals to try to get to the edge. It does have a flat earth feel, at least, to see how long it had grown. First, he sent the bear, and the bear returned in 2 days, saying he had reached the end. Next, he sent out the deer, who came back in 2 weeks, saying he had reached the end. Finally, he sent the wolf, and the wolf never returned because the land had gotten so big. The Lenape claimed that this is why the wolf howls, that it was really a call for their ancestor to come back home. But so that's Lenape's spin, which has elements of Algonquin, as we have witnessed. So now this is the strictly Iroquois. So this is the Iroquois without the Algonquin input. So this one, we should have read this, but I'm glad we did read this because it's very interesting how this came about. So let me see. I don't want to. This is short, so let's do this. The Haudenosaunee. So these are the Iroquois. According to the oral tradition of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois, the earth was the thought of a ruler of a great island which floats in space and is a place of eternal peace. Sky Woman fell down to the earth when it was covered with water, or more specifically, when there was a great cloud sea. Various animals tried to swim to the bottom of the ocean to bring back dirt to create land. The muskrat succeeded in getting dirt, which was placed on the back of a turtle. So this muskrat, it's like to me, I don't know, it seems like the representative from the Algonquin tradition, but now he's serving, the turtle. Before in the Algonquin story, it was the muskrat himself that was really, you know, he was that was the one. But now he becomes secondary to the turtle. I just get the feeling that everything we're hearing about indigenous people is coming through an Iroquois kind of filter. You know what I'm saying? And it would be fitting because again, Algonquins are they just them Indians up way up north, you know, that have nothing to do with the part known as America. We've been taken out of America, Algonquins. And the Lenape are not really considered as real like really Algonquin as far as I'm seeing. Their traditions are mixed tradition with Iroquois. If this is your creation story, then you've been Iroquoisized, Iraqicized, because that's not your original story as an Algonquin. So you are what the Lenape is a hybrid of Algonquin and Iroquois, is what the vibe I'm getting. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm going to say it how it's occurring to me. Okay. Uh, so the muskrat succeeded in gathering dirt, which was placed on the back of a turtle. The dirt began to multiply. Oh, now the dirt is just multiplying by itself. Okay. And also caused the turtle to grow bigger. The turtle continued to grow bigger and bigger. It just sounded like what happened to the Iroquois. Once they kicked and helped kick the Algonquin off of America as we know it, they became the bigger, big. So it was the big. We want to get bigger, bigger. That's the deal they got. That's the deal they made. And the deal is, what's the end result of the deal? That there is no such thing as Algonquins in America. They are in Canada. Okay. Thus, when Iroquois cultures refer to the earth, they call it Turtle Island, which is why I never vibed, and I didn't even know all this, y'all. I just had a natural aversion to the idea of a turtle island. It just didn't resonate with me. and I didn't know why. I truly did not know that. That is God's honest truth. It just didn't make sense to me. That's what it was. But I see now that there's definitely it's it's a tribal thing. I'm calling it that. I use that loosely, but I'm just saying it's that's not what Algonquins, we didn't believe in no turtle. Okay. It's just not. It's an Iroquois thing. And as much as it is an Algonquin thing, it would be the hybrid, what I'm calling a hybrid, Lenapes that have incorporated Iroquois legends that deal with growing bigger. See, Iroquois Algonquins, they didn't have, I don't think they were about it, we gotta get bigger. Well, let's just see again. Maybe it was. Let me look. Okay. Okay, so muskrat. Okay. I'm gonna read it again before. You know why? Because I am going to give more of my lip service to Algonquin. I mean, I really feel that a big injustice has happened. And um, we have been paper genocided off of America and replanted as if we only were Canadian Indians. You know, they don't want us part of America. We're the ones that they first met here. And they immediately set about saying, oh, thank you for welcoming me into your home. Now you can get the fuck up out of here. Um, so I just wanted to see. So it doesn't really talk about getting bigger and bigger. You see, it's just what happened was the animals agreed and they all began to die. They all brought up earth, and the man they called grandfather kneaded the mud that they brought and molded it into a long column that reached from the surface of the water to the earth beneath. And it continued to add with the help of the animals. In time, they would create a world of trees, mountains, and beauty for all to live. So, they don't really have this, oh, it got bigger, bigger, bigger. They're not focused on size. It's, you know, that was the Algonquins didn't have desire to grow and grow because they were already a large linguistic group, is my point. But in this story, it's all about we want to see how big it got and how did it get bigger yet? How big is it now? Are we bigger yet? Are we the big dog yet? I know y'all don't like this breakdown. I just have to give it to you the way it's coming at me. Namely the Iroquois. Of course, they're not going to like it. Of course, they're not. But I have to give it to you how my ancestors are giving it to me. And I've decided somewhere that yes, I'm going to be a voice, but my voice is going to have to speak what my ancestors need to say, to whatever degree they will allow that to happen. So yeah, it's going to piss some people off. They don't want to hear that that Turtle Island is not the story of every Indian. They don't want to hear that. But again, what you have is a small group of Indians who are made out that they are the voice of all Indians. And we got to be mindful. There's a whole linguistic group that have basically been removed from America as we know it. So we're not even seen really as part of America. Yet again, we were the first things that the Britons saw when they got here. Now we're gone. But the Iroquois is always talked about, and they're in America proper. You know, the corporate, the corporate America, the fictitious borders of what is now the United States, I should say. And again, I just realized, to me, the Lenape are never really referred to as Algonquin. They're just Lenape. So the word Algonquin is being removed from the area that the United States now occupies. And the Iroquois are fine with that. They would be. Come on, let's be real. So continue to multiply. The dirt began to multiply and caused the turtle to grow bigger. The turtle continued to grow bigger and bigger. This is they sound like the colonizer. They just want to get bigger and bigger. And the dirt continued to multiply until it became a huge expanse of land with no Algonquins. Thus, when Iroquois cultures refer to the earth, they often call it Turtle Island. According to Converse and Parker, the Iroquois faith shared with other religions the belief that the earth is supported by a gigantic turtle. With other religions? That sounds like us and the colonizers feel that the earth is supported by a gigantic turtle. In the Seneca language, the mythical turtle is called Hanuna. While the name for an everyday turtle is Hanawa. Seneca. So what are the Seneca? They're not they're part of the Iroquois Confederacy, right? Yeah. In other versions of the story, such as Susan Hill's The Muskrat or other animals die in their search for the land for the Sky Woman, named Mature Flower in Hill's telling. This is a representation of the Haudenosaunee beliefs of death and chaos as forces of creation. Lord have mercy. Death and chaos. So the Iroquois believe in death and chaos. Well, that's how they were recreated as the biggest thing, right? Through forces of death and chaos when they joined with the Britons. So through death and chaos, they were able to be created into a much bigger deal than what they were. Are these fighting words? If they are, I didn't make them up, y'all. But I think, again, if you don't address the disease, you'll just remain in disease. So yes, these are tough words. But who ended up being kicked out of America as we know it? That's what I'm talking about. And it seems like the occupiers, along with certain Indians, are just happy with that. They're fine if it never changed. You see, so in other words, we Indians, we have work to do amongst ourselves. I don't know. I don't know what would make the Iroquois want to give up this sweet deal, though. So we would just need Algonquins to demand our right back to our lands. Because I just realized this: we're no longer in America, y'all. Algonquins out there, we're not in America anymore. Don't count the Lenape as part of you anymore. They are compromised. You know, they could help if they were interested in, you know, getting back to their roots. But I don't know, you know. Well, first of all, there are no sovereign Indians. The only ones living as sovereigns, I think, would more likely be the Iroquois, because now they're the Black Caucus and all of that kind of thing, right? They like the Negropeans, basically, is what I would have to say. You know, again, you know, I'm just doing the math. You know, I haven't really validated this, but all the evidence that I see already, you know, it not it looks like they got something, and it has to be something that's providing them uh, a cushy life today as we speak, right? Because that's the whole point, to keep this going on forever and ever and ever and ever. Amen, right? So I don't know what they're talking about, this Susan Hill. Uh, but I think, you know, I don't know who this woman is. I don't even know why they, you know, in other versions of the story. Uh, so this is just another version by Susan M. Hill. We can see this concept playing out again when the mature flower's daughter dies during childbirth, becoming the first person to be buried on the turtle's back, and whose burial posts help grow various plants, oh Lord, such as corn and strawberry. That sounds kind of not very appetizing, but this, according to Hill, also shows how soil and the land itself has the ability to act and shape creation. Some tellings do not include this expanded edition as part of the creation story. However, these differences are important to note when considering Haudenosaunee traditions and relationships. I'm going to pause for a minute and be back. We're back. Um, uh, so, uh, kind of went outside of my hour and a half, you know, goal post. So maybe I should try to close out here. I did have other slides, but I think I think we kind of got the 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 rough idea, you know, of what, you know, what's kind of basically the situation. Um, it I guess it was just inevitable, you know, because this was like a very, probably one of the biggest learning experiences, because what this particular subject helped me to see is that, yeah, it's funny that I never really caught on to the Turtle Island concept, and I never, you know, you never really have heard me use that term. It just never resonated with me. Namely, logically, it didn't, because I just feel like uh Americas are far too big to be referred to as island or one island. I just that was troublesome to me. I don't know why. I just thought it's not like we were smaller and like in the Iroquois story, smaller and grew like that. We were always this large, landmass as far as I recall. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna pause it. Uh, yeah, so they just never. When they would try to show America shaped like a turtle, the only thing I ever thought of was that doesn't look like a turtle to me. So I never resonated with it, but now I see a deeper uh side to this. It was never the linguistic group I'm part of, it was never that wasn't in their story. That's not what they believe to be the creation story at all. They don't even mention it. So on that note, I think I'm going to say we're done for now. Thank you for watching. I hope it wasn't too hard on you. I hope and that we just look toward resolution, and maybe that's what we need to talk. Till next time, thank you for watching.